നാളെ ഇന്ന് ശുഭ നാളെ ഞങ്ങളുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പോകുന്നത് അത് മാത്യു കൂട്ടുകാർ ഓർഗനൈസ് ചെയ്തു. എല്ലാവരുടെയും പേര് ചോദിക്കുന്ന പേര് ഷിബുവിന്റെ സെഷൻ വീഡിയോ ആയിട്ട് ഓരോ സമയത്തോടെ സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യും.
Let's make a start. Right, so I'm just calling upon a few people who you all know. I just want all of you to think about the person and what are the main qualities which comes to your mind. Okay? I can have some volunteers to say. I mean, I don't need to say who that is. What comes to your mind when I pop up Mahatma Gandhi on the screen? Freedom, yes.
Peace.
Simplicity, yes. Non-violence, leadership, ahimsa. So he has created his own brand. What about that person? We just talked about him. Who is he? Right. And what do we all?
Visionary.
Visionary, pioneer, innovator, and he was not afraid to take chances. That was one of his biggest qualities. Two more, and then I'll stop. Who are the other two?
MS Dhoni.
Right. So, MS Dhoni, charisma, again, leader. He had a lot of setbacks when he started. He never stopped. And that moment, for any cricket lover, you can see that and you'll be happy. That's India winning the World Cup in 2011. And the next person down there, does anyone know who that is? Beyonce. Yes. So, most number of Grammy Awards, right? Coming from Afro background, she never stopped. She still hasn't stopped. Right? So the reason I wanted to put all of these people is to get the feel of the brand. Right? So it is all their personal brand. None of these are corporate except Steve Jobs, who made a corporation. It is their personal brand that comes to mind. So that's what I would like to talk about today. Right? And so, what is a brand? Like, let me get some views. I mean, it's on there, okay? So, when you say it is a personal brand, it's all about the skills, the presentation you have, the things you've done, the achievements you've done in life, what you can add meaningfully to the society. That is what comes up in your personal brand, okay? So, when I did this, I had this question. So, who am I addressing to? I see a lot of people here, right? So, who should have a brand? What do you think? Who should have a brand? Everyone. All of us have brands, okay? So, when we are born, we have a brand. When we get to school, when we are the chubby kid, we have a brand, right? When we are the naughty kid, we have a brand. When we have the smart kid, we have a brand. When we go to university, we have a brand. When we go to college, when we go to work, we have a brand. What about people who are getting to the end of their career? Do they have a brand? They do have a brand, right? So it is there for everyone. So this branding session is for all of you. You can all understand your brand, you can all rebrand, you can propagate your brand, anything's possible, right? And one thing which I want to highlight on, nowadays, like about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you had a brand, you go to a university, you go to a job, that's where you present your brand. But today, the opportunities are immense. We just need to sit at our home, click a few buttons, our brand is out there, right? Through the social media, through the internet. So it is very important. Our brand is now visible to a lot of people, more than what we think. Not the ones we see, a lot of people all around the world. So having a brand is so important for all of you in life, right? And one more thing, this is borrowed from Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, and he said, brand is what people talk about you when you're not in the room, right? So when you're not in the room, if you have left an impression, that is your brand. Right. So now moving on, I would like to just highlight on some of the very critical elements that make up a person's brand. Okay? So the main thing which is ultimately important for all of you is the authenticity. Sorry. Is the authenticity of your brand. Okay? You are what you are. Don't lie. Be sincere. Let it come from your heart. That is your brand. Okay? And then your values. Each one of us have some values. They have characteristics which people associate. Can be anything that you do, whether your job, the way you deal with society, the way you deal with older generation, younger generation. All those characteristics are part of your brand. That's your core value. And what we all need to do, we need to amplify what we need to show to the others. Those are the values which we should bring into our brand. The other topic which I mentioned about is integrity. So we should have our own integrity, again driven from our values. It's our values which drives our integrity. If you think about Mahatma Gandhi, his value was ahimsa and non-violence, and he stuck to it. It took him 28 years to get the British out of India. He never changed it, right? So he stuck to his integrity. That was part of his brand. Then it's about how we stand out from the competition. It's our charisma, right? Our brand should have our own charisma. You don't need to be the best looking person in the world to have a brand. You don't need to dress well, right? It is a bit of, it's best if you dress well, you can create an impression. But it's not about how you look. It is about what you do and what you say and the passion with which you say. That is your charisma, right? So never be mistaken by you can only have a brand if you have charisma. Charisma is what you bring out, right? That is your charisma. The other thing is trustworthiness. So you, as your brand goes on, as you propagate your brand, you will bring trustworthiness. How? By the things you've done, by the delivery you've done from your brand. And again, keeping consistent with your values and principles. So if you go back to our examples, we talked about Beyonce, right? She never deviated from her values and principles. She stuck there, music was her forte, and she amplified music. And that took us to where she is today. So these are the critical elements that we all need to have in our brand. Now I'll talk about how we create our own brand. And there are some books, there are hundreds of books out there. For the lazy ones, that's the easiest. Just read that, you're done in about 2-3 days, you will understand the brand. But there are other books. The book that I show there is very inspiring. It is something which you can look at when you want to think about your brand. Right. So we talked about brand. We talked about every one of you having brand. So the reason I put mirror in there is you are your brand. The best thing you've got to do is to look at the mirror. Not physically look at the mirror. It's a bit of introspection into what you are. And then you need to find the real you. And that is specific to all of you. No person can come to you and say, that's your brand. It's you who determines your brand, right? And as I said, it is not a one-day job. You can't just read brand for dummies, I'm done, I put a social media profile. No. It is an ongoing thing. It's not done in one day. All of you sitting here have a brand today. So if this session gives you some inspiration or it triggers some thought inside you, go out there, relook at the mirror, do the introspection. Do you have to change your brand? Maybe you don't have to. You already have a good brand. Maybe you just have to change it around a bit. Maybe you just amplify what you are missing today. You just push on that, okay? And once you've done all of that, the hardest thing is to retain your brand. So you have to work hard. So it's a never-ending process. It's a cyclic process. You keep on reinventing, you keep on rebranding, you keep on delivering, and you retain your brand. So I'm focusing a lot about you because that's what really gets you the brand. Okay? So I want you to start looking at this. I'm not going to repeat all of this. Maybe that's something which you can read while I'm talking. while I was doing some research, I came across a very motivating talk from Anand Pillai, who is a motivation speaker in India. And a couple of things really touched my mind, and I thought, let me share that with you. So I started right at the bottom. Not sure how many of you remember these Lade and Lale. They were conjoined twins in Iran. And they were together, you can see there. They were together for nearly 30 years, right? It really hurts me to think how they were together for 30 years. I can't run in sync with my brother, I can't run in sync with my kids, I can't run in sync with my wife. So, if you're joined together, all your thoughts are together, all your actions are together. So these guys, they went through all of that, and then they took a very brave decision in their life that we are going to be separated. All the doctors said, not a good idea, you're going to risk yourselves, you're better off, you live 30 years, you're better off living. But the words there, that shook the world. We would rather die as individuals than live without an identity. That is what they said when they went for the surgery. And then the tragedy is they never survived, so they both died. So what was paramount for them was their integrity. They wanted their own life. They had different ideas. So they did that huge decision. So that's what I want all of you to start thinking. It certainly made me think, what is our integrity? Do we stand up for our integrity? That is very important when we construct our brand. We stick to our integrity and we use that in our brand. The other bit which I want to look at is the comment there from Funky Business. It's talking about the state of the world. Okay? Our surplus society has a surplus of similar companies employing similar people with similar educational backgrounds, working in similar jobs, coming up with similar ideas, producing similar things with similar processes, warranties, and qualities. Look at the number of similarities in there. So it just shows the world is big, there's lots of us out here. How do we stand out in this highly competitive world full of similarities? It is our uniqueness that makes us stand. Each one of us is unique. We're born differently. God has decided to create us differently. So never go against your uniqueness. Okay? It's good to have role models. It is good to emulate people. But keep in mind the two things which we have. Our integrity, our uniqueness. Use that in our brand. Right? So never copy people. It's good to take inspiration. Never copy people. And the other thing, I think I've already talked about what is your brand and your color and stuff and all that. The key bit which I want all of you to focus is how do you inspire people? Think about that. How you can inspire people. Whether you are in school, inspiring your friends, whether in your workplace, can you inspire people who work for you, or people you work with? If you are finishing your life, in your social life, can you inspire people? So, a guide which you can use, Gallup is a consultancy, and they've come up with 5 steps you can use for your self-identification. The first one is your yearning. I call it the yearning. It is your inner mind talking about what do you really want to do. If you are a musician, I want to do music. If you're an artist, I want to do art. If you're a technocrat, I want to do technology. If you're a sportsman, I want to do sports. So that yearning should come from within you. The other one is your rapid learning. You all know each other very well. What are the things I can grasp quickly? What can I learn faster than others? We talked about competition. So if I can pick up skills faster than others, if that's working for me, that becomes my forte. So use what is going in quickly into you. The other one is a flow of things, which is very similar. Like you've learned something, you can execute it perfectly. And you see glimpses of excellence. So once you've done that, you think, oh my God, that's me. I've done this. That should inspire you, right? And that should be part of your brand. You are able to execute things in a very smooth way than others. Can be cooking. You can cook things. You can bring the taste in there, right? So that is your glimpses of excellence. So when the chips are down and you're not able to achieve things, draw into those glimpses of excellence you had in your past life. It doesn't have to be degrees. It can be good things. It can be words of appreciation which people have told about you. Use those in your brand. And the last bit which you need to look at is what makes you, when you do something, what gives you satisfaction. This again for me is a bit controversial because sometimes you are put in a job or you choose a career based on needs. Satisfaction may be not what you think, but then the art is how do you make satisfaction out of where you are? How do you do things? How do you draw on those glimpses of excellence where you are? How do you do satisfaction? That is something which you can do in your brand. Right. Now, we've talked about techniques which we can use. And then this is building the brand. Right? As I said, it's for everyone. Depending on whichever stage you are in life, you first need to define the objective of your brand. Why are you doing it? Is it for a job? For kids who are in university, is it to get a job? For kids who are in school, is it to get into school? Find that objective and look for your North Star, right? You define your North Star and say, that's what I want to do. This is why I'm building my brand. Then, the next thing you can do is take inventory of your existing skill sets. So your skills, your qualifications. We talked a bit about the passion and interest, the values, and the key bit, which we haven't touched upon now, is your weakness. If you ever think that all the successful people never had a weakness, you're mistaken. Everybody's got a weakness. The successful people are the ones who identify that weakness, who either work to improve on that weakness, or they're very smart, they hide it. So a combination of any of these things can give you the success you're looking for. So it's to understand our weaknesses. Then we have to look at who are we targeting this to. Again, this is something which I request all of you to think about. We should find our client's audience or the target we need to market our brand to. Never go with, I'm going to please everybody in the world. It will never happen. If you do that, you're foolish. So be ready to disappoint a few people. That is perfectly okay. Stick to your core and say, that is what my brand is. And if you find these audience, that is where you should target your brand. And you will get perfect clients. Everybody knows if you get perfect clients, happy business. So that's what you need. And just if you look at that picture there, the brand is kind of in a Venn diagram. It is in the middle of all of those things: your passions, your skills, and where are the jobs. So the bottom bit is the reality or the practicality area, where you might want to do something, you might have skills somewhere, but the market doesn't offer you that job. Or your university. Everybody wants to go to a top Ivy League university. You might not get it. So you just have to redefine your areas and find your brand accordingly. Before I move on, one thing which I want to say is it's very, very useful if you refocus your North Star once in a while. Once you put your North Star, you're working towards a brand. If you look at it, is that still my North Star? Have conditions changed? Financial situation, my family situation, anything would change. So always re-evaluate your North Star and see if your objectives and what you're building up in your brand is still in line with your North Star. Right. So we've talked about how to build a brand. The next bit is how do you communicate your brand? Again, the key thing which I can drive from my experience is simplicity. If you have simplicity, it's easy. You can get into anywhere. If you're going into a niche area and pushing your brand in a way that it's only reaching certain target audience, it is fine, but simple is always better. Simple allows you to get maximum value out of your brand. And the other bit which you have to do is your self-investment. You have to invest time as goes along with your brand. Whether it is gaining your knowledge, whether it is sharing your knowledge, you can share your knowledge with people, that always helps. It is one thing which people are not very good at. They keep knowledge to themselves. Doesn't help. Share it. Right? If you share knowledge, you multiply your knowledge. So use that. Share your knowledge. One technique which you can use, I think in our previous speech, Anil mentioned about mentoring. So depending on the stage of life, that is something which you can look at if you mentor people. The best thing which I have learned from my life is when you mentor people, you're relearning, you're reskilling yourselves. What do you think you know might not be able to get it out to a person who has got less experience than you. When they come along and ask some questions, the bulb just lights in your head. Oh really? I didn't think like that. So always spend time to mentor. This is good for the back room where you have senior people, but for our junior people, find your mentors. There are mentors out there. Find your mentors, learn from them. They've done the hard work for you. So use their experiences, use their mistakes to propel ourselves forward. The one area which you can look at while you are doing your brand and propagating your brand is you connect others. Help people. You can help people to find jobs. So about 2 weeks ago, there was a chap in my team, very skilled. I didn't want to lose him. He was great. He was doing a lot of work for me. He found another job, and he said, "I have to leave Shibu. It doesn't work. The current situation doesn't work for me." I said, "Yes, fine." I accepted it. It was very hard for me. I accepted it. I asked him where he going, and he gave me the name of the company. And to be honest, it was not what he was really worth it. So I connected to an old friend of mine. They interviewed him, and he's still with me. In about 3 weeks, he'll be leaving me to go to this new job. What have I gained? I've lost. But I'm hoping my investment will pay off sometime in future. If it doesn't pay off for me, maybe for someone else. But help to connect people. It also propagates your brand. If you are a person who is ready to give for somebody else, it's very useful. Others will think you are good. So use those connections which you have and connect others. Sorry, I'm just checking if I covered it. I'm going a bit long, I'll stop. I can see some heads nodding. Right. So this, I have to be honest, it's not my forte. We talked earlier about the digital platform and how we have to use the digital platform to promote our brand, but it's something that's very essential nowadays. I've put some icons down there. Be active on the social media profiles. And one aspect which you can do is you can keep reposting. You can follow the people who inspired you, the industry leaders, your ex-managers, your colleagues, your peers. You can follow them, keep reposting. It builds your brand. And join focus groups. Wherever we are, use the group synergy. When you're in a school, join the clubs. When you're in a university, join the clubs. When you're in office, join the peer groups. It really helps to widen our knowledge network. and it also helps to widen our network. So please join those areas and keep your social media profile active. That's the most important thing to do. This is something which I learned as I was preparing for this. I have social media accounts. I'm not very good at it, but I am going to change myself. So use this as an opportunity to change the way you repost your brand. Coming back, this is the last one, I promise. These are the techniques you can use for your personal growth. Again, in our earlier presentations, Anil mentioned about SMART goals. You can set them SMART goals, keep measuring them, and revise the goals as time goes on. That's one way you can expand, go up in your career. The other way, going back to Steve Jobs, going back to MS Dhoni, step out of your comfort zone. Very, very important. All of us like happiness, all of us like calmness. But in this world out there, unless you step out, unless you challenge yourselves, your growth is limited. Okay? It can be anything you do, you have to step out. And don't be afraid of failures. It is fine. It's fine to fail. The best thing is you learn from your failures. Okay? That is one quality which you can do. And it has helped me a lot. I've gone into situations where I shouldn't have really interfered. But I learned from it. I failed miserably, but I learned from it. And there are some which I might not have even learned. But it's okay. Just get out there. Talking about networking, I keep on, I'm very big with this. Networking. Keep doing it. That is what helps you. And you all don't know, we have such a big network here in the church. Use that network. Go back to your college friends. They are your real friends. Your school friends. They are real friends. You can always bang on them. You know, I have friends who I don't speak to for 5 years. But when you see them, your past comes out. You started your life together. They are your real friends. You can also network with your peers. You can, if you want to follow someone, you can get out there and start networking with them. But networking is very important. So one bit which I want to highlight on is keep your bridges intact. All of us have anger. All of us have passion. It is a skill to figure out if you are not in a happy situation, if you are not agreeing with things, stick to your values, stick to your core principles, and never burn bridges. It's not a good idea. The world is very small. You can always end professionally. You can always say, I agree to disagree. That's fine. But never burn your bridges. It's very important. So keep that little bit of anger and passion, use it positively. Never go against the person who's coming. So I'll give you an example. Like a peer of mine, very passionate, Sicilian lady from Italy. She got really angry with something, and she started typing an email. And this was going to a very senior person in my organization. So I just stopped her and said, "Why are you doing this?" "No, this is not right. This is simply not right. It is against my values." I said, "Well, first of all, you have blurted out a lot of emotion out there. There is no rationale to a third-party person who is reading this. What is the problem?" So always, when you are in a bit of a conflict situation, define the problem. Can you come up with a solution? If you can, great. Otherwise, highlight the risk. Right? So it's very important you do that and hold that anger that you have. Maybe it's a good idea to rest on it for 10 minutes or half an hour. And then you react to it. Then your brain comes down, you can react to it in a constructive way. So use that. So never burn your bridges. It always affects your brand. So there are a lot of people who go to social media and they find something which is very passionate to them and they post something. One thing I can tell you, my friends, it never disappears from the internet. Your views, it never disappears from the internet. If you go fighting with someone, tit for tat with someone on a social media, it never disappears. And people who are reading it, as we said, it's read by a lot of people around the world. So be careful with what you put out there, right? Doesn't mean you don't react. It doesn't mean you don't stand up against things which are wrong. But always do it in a positive way. I will finish with just a couple more words. You can always nurture your strengths and you can develop on your weaknesses. And one piece of advice which I would like to give, impart to all of you, which I've learned from my life, is when you're working on your weaknesses, never forget your strengths. They are your strengths for a reason. Keep nurturing them. Make your strengths even stronger. That helps. Those strengths is your rock when you want to fall off. And keep working on your weaknesses. That will help you to promote more in life, whether it's your work life, your social life, anything, will help you. I think I'll end it there. People are getting to it. Before I stop, I'd like to give the floor to all of you. I hope the message which I was trying to do is clear to you. I'm open for questions. Anyone who's got any? Yes? Yeah.
So one of the, you talked about uniqueness and how you accept your uniqueness. When you're growing up as a child and you want to be young children, one of the things they find challenging is standing out. So if you stand out and you're unique, you get bullied for it, or you get, you know. That's really good.
Yeah.
So how do you, is there any tips for giving young children that confidence, a sense of confidence? Like how do you, anything that you can help them with?
So I think I get the question. So it's about social alienation because of the values which you hold. Yes, it is a controversial topic. My advice is, within you, you stick to those values. If you are putting yourselves out there, think, do you really have to highlight that specific area, or do you want to get into a conflict area because you are trying to highlight that? A situation like bullying is something that's really out of hand, right? The bully doesn't understand that's why that person is trying to bully them. So you have to react objectively to that. One hard thing which you can do is try to convince them, right? And try to empathize with them a bit. Why are they trying to bully you? Is it because of their past, where they had situations like that? Maybe you can empathize with them. If that doesn't work, unfortunately, you have to go take help from others to tackle with that situation. But my view is you should stick to your values. You should never compromise because someone is pushing you down not to accept your values or not to behold your values. So you should always stick to your values, stay within the perimeters where you can, and take help either by talking to them or talking to your seniors or teachers. That's the best way to deal with it. Right? It's not a great explanation, but I hope that kind of helps. Yeah. Any more?
Where do you draw a line between being passionate and being rude?
Right. Yeah. Being passionate and being rude. I think passionate is great. Rude is when you start challenging others and pushing them to the corner. You don't have to get into that kind of conflict. What's always helped me is, I think I spoke about it. You define the problem, or you define what is a conflict between the two or many people, right? You define that conflict, and then it is trying to rationalize your way out of it. Because you have passion, you push that this is the best way to do, and the world is all about results, and it's all about what can you deliver out of it. Why you're in a conflict? It's because it's going to create tension in the job, or it's going to result in a financial loss, or you're going to lose out clients or something like that. So you always get into that mode where you first define the conflict and then you look at outcomes. Like if you go your way, what's the outcome? If you go somebody else's way, what is the outcome? And then you get into that mature conversation where you look at those outcomes and in some instances, you might have to accept maybe the other person was right. So you just have passion. Fine. You learn from it, but the outcome is better. Maybe it is situational outcome. Maybe what you said is right, but in future, what you said might be right. So it's getting into and rationalizing that situation. I think that's the best way out.
Be willing to give it.
Yes, you have to. That's the best way to, yeah.
Last question.
Yes.
ഒരു ബ്രാൻഡ് ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ
ഒരു ബ്രാൻഡും ഇല്ലാത്തതും ഒരു ബ്രാൻഡ് ഇല്ലാത്തതും ഒരു ബ്രാൻഡാണ് അല്ലേ? ആ മനുഷ്യന് ബ്രാൻഡ് ഇല്ല എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നെങ്കിലും പുള്ളിയുടെ സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി അതാണ്. ബട്ട് ഇൻ ദിസ് വേൾഡ് റൈറ്റ്, ഐ തിങ്ക് ബ്രാൻഡ് ഇസ് ദർ. നമ്മൾ നാട്ടിൽ ഞാനിപ്പോഴും ഓർക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, നമ്മൾ സ്കൂളിൽ പോകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഒരു അമ്മച്ചി ഇരുന്നിട്ട് കുറച്ച് സിപ്പപ്പും എന്തായിരുന്നു പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത്, തലയിൽ ഇടിച്ച് കളിക്കുന്ന സാധനം, അതെല്ലാം വിൽക്കുന്ന ആ അമ്മച്ചിക്ക് ഒരു ബ്രാൻഡുണ്ട്. അമ്മച്ചി സോഷ്യൽ മീഡിയയിലും പോയില്ല, എല്ലാം പോയില്ല. ബട്ട് the way she dealt with us, the sweet memories we have. I can bet you, നിങ്ങളെല്ലാം സ്കൂളിലോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കോളേജിലോ തിരിച്ചു പോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇപ്പോഴും എൻ്റെ വെളിയിൽ പോകുമ്പോൾ ആ അമ്മച്ചി അവിടെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, നമ്മളിതൊക്കെ ചെയ്തു എന്നൊക്കെ ഓർക്കും. So everyone has a brand, right? There's nobody without a brand.
The only person who doesn't know they have a brand is that lady.
Yeah, she doesn't know she's got a brand. Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah. I hope that answers. Question illa, പെട്ടെന്ന് നിർത്തിയാൽ മതി. I hope it's useful for all of you. Just if something is not clear.
So thank you so much, Shibu. എനിക്ക് ഉറപ്പാണ് ഷിബുസിനോടൊന്ന് പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു 20 minutes അതിൽ കൂടുതൽ എടുക്കല്ലേ. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഷിബുസ് വളരെ പ്രിസൈസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കണ്ടന്റ്സ് ആണ് അവിടെ ഇട്ടേക്കുന്നത്. എനിക്കറിയാം ആ ഓരോ വേർഡിനും ഷിബുസിന് വേണമെങ്കിൽ 1 മണിക്കൂർ വെച്ച് സംസാരിക്കാനുള്ള കണ്ടന്റ് കാണുമെന്ന്. സോ അത്രമാത്രം പിടിച്ചു വെച്ചാണ് ഷിബുസിന് സംസാരിച്ചതെന്ന് വളരെ ഇതാണ്. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച് ഷിബുസ്. സോ നമ്മൾ ട്രൈ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഇതാണ്, സോ ഒരു ക്യാപ്സ്യൂൾ ഓഫ് വിസ്ഡം എല്ലാ മാസവും ഒരു കുഞ്ഞൊരു ക്യാപ്സ്യൂൾ ടു മേക്ക് us a better human being, to improve ourselves. അതാണ് നമ്മൾ ട്രൈ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ അതിൻ്റെ ഓഡിയൻസ് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യും. നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും എൽഡർ ആൾക്കാരാവണമെന്നില്ല ഇത് ഡെലിവറി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ നമ്മൾ ഇനി അടുത്ത സോ നമുക്ക് 3 നല്ല സെഷനുകൾ കഴിഞ്ഞു. അല്ലച്ചൻ്റെ സെമിച്ചാൻ്റെ ഷിബുസൻ ഇതെല്ലാം യൂട്യൂബിൽ നമ്മൾ ഇട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. സോ കാണാത്തവർ പോയി കാണുക. ഇനി വരുന്ന സെഷനുകൾ കുറച്ചുകൂടെ യങ്ങർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആൾക്കാരായിരിക്കും ഡെലിവറി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. കേട്ട അങ്ങനെ എലിസബത്ത് കുറേ അങ്ങനെ കുറച്ച് പേരാണ് ഡെലിവറി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ വിൽ ട്രൈ ടു മിക്സ് ഇറ്റ്. ഷീസ് ഓൾസോ ഡെലിവറി. സോഫിയ ഇസ് ഡെലിവറി. സോഫിയ യെസ്. സോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ഇഫ് യു ഫീൽ നിങ്ങൾക്കാണെങ്കിൽ യെസ് ഐ വുഡ് ലൈക്ക് ടു ടോക്ക് ടു ദ യങ്ങർ ഓഡിയൻസ്, ഓർ എനിക്ക് ഐ വുഡ് ലൈക്ക് ടു ഷെയർ മൈ ലൈഫ് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് എന്നൊരു ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പ്ലീസ് കം ഫോർവേഡ്. ഞാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ഇപ്പം തൽക്കാലം അല്ലസിന് സനിച്ചൻ ഷിബുസിനെ ഞാൻ കംഫർട്ടബിൾ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ പോയി ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ദാറ്റ് ഡസൻറ്റ് മീൻ ബാക്കിയുള്ളവരുടെ നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാൻ താല്പര്യമില്ലെന്ന്. വി വുഡ് ലൈക്ക് ടു ഹിയർ ഫ്രം നിങ്ങളുടെ എല്ലാ ലൈഫ് എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കണം. വി വോണ്ട് ടു ഒബ്സർവ് ഫ്രം ഇറ്റ്, ലേൺ ഫ്രം ഇറ്റ്. സോ ഇഫ് anyone is interested, please just come and talk to me, please. Thank you, Shibu.